Hello, everyone. Hi from the top of the earth. At least my Zoom background says so. It's so lovely to meet you all, and I hope to be in PyCon next year to share my thoughts and network with all of you. But I'm here to talk about how we as maintainers can empower new contributors to succeed and how we can support new contributors. So my name is Ruth Ikegah, and I'm an open source consultant at DEI. And at DEI, we help open source program offices, inner source program offices, and open source foundations. We help them we help them sustain their projects and help them see insights through to their community. And also, I'm also the community lead at Chaos Africa, and a DI badging maintainer at the Chaos Project. And Chaos, if you're not familiar with Chaos, Chaos means community health analytics in open source software. And what we do at the Chaos Project is we create metrics for open source communities to analyze health and think about health in their project. So that's why I'm most excited to talk to you about DEI in open source and also about new contributors, because I started open source. When I started open source, I started advocating quite early on in my career in 2020. I started advocating for new contributors, to find their space, to come into open source, to create impact as well. So that's why this topic is important to me. And I hope to share a lot of insights to you today, from as well as a case study from the Chaos Project, the DEI Audit Team, sponsored by the Ford Foundation. I hope to, after sharing my insights on how you can help your new contributors succeed, I hope to share insights from our work at the Chaos Project. So I want you to go back for a second. Nobody's judging you. I want you to think about your first contribution to open source. I'm thinking about mine right now, and it was a typo. So who else was a typo? Who else was their first contribution a typo in open source? And why it's important for us to, reflect on our first contribution, because we are talking about newcomers. So I want us to be in the shoes of newcomers just for the purpose of this talk. My first contribution to open source was just a typo change. And it took me 2 days to make a typo change. 2 days. And what was I struggling with? Git. I still struggle with Git, by the way. So thinking back at about your first contribution in open source, how did you feel? What were the challenges? Remember the challenges that you had. I know maybe we have some superheroes here who their first contribution was very seamless. That's fine, thumbs up to you. But mine was really, really rough. Now, I want to come from another perspective, which maybe some people might not be able to relate to. And that perspective is the challenges of underrepresented groups. What are the challenges that they face when they contribute to open source? And this section of this talk, I'm going to be sharing my personal experience when I got started in open source. This might not look like something that it is, because you might not be aware of these challenges. But there's lack of access. And when I say resources, there are specific things I mean: internet, electricity, even laptop machine resource. Now, I come from a place where electricity is not stable, unfortunately, right? And imagine that I took up this issue and I really do want to contribute to this project. And when I took up this issue, it's time for me to send my pull request. My laptop goes off. and I do not have power to power it back on, then it lingers on. And maybe I do not have internet access, or I have bandwidth issues. It lingers on and it affects my motivation because I know a maintainer is waiting for my pull request. So it does affect my participation in that community. Even joining Zoom calls consumes a lot of internet data because I do not want to consume data. When I started in open source, I just finished my college degree, and I was spending money on a whole lot of data, and I didn't have a job, so I couldn't afford getting on so many long Zoom meetings. So the lack of access to resources is an issue that a lot of underrepresented people in open source face, and even support to contribute to these projects. Also, there's the fear of unwelcomingness. And fortunate enough for me, I started in projects that were very welcoming to me, that could say hi to me when I joined the channel, when I introduced myself, that could point me to the right resources. So there's always the fear that new contributors face, that the projects around them that they would jump into. And because open source projects are global, there's even that fear triples. I feel that because I am just new to tech and new to open source, someone with 10 years of experience, maybe I can say something, maybe I can share my ideas. Maybe I'm excluded. I feel excluded from this environment because I'm contributing. People I contribute to have more experience than I have, are more recognized in tech. There's always that fear when underrepresented people come into open source projects. That is why it's important to welcome people, to say hi to that new contributor that introduces themselves or asks a question in your channel or in your project. So there's always that fear. There's always the imposter syndrome that comes from being a new contributor, that comes from having lack of access to resources, and it always affects your confidence. When I started, just a quick example, when I started to contribute to the Chaos project, when I started my contributions, I was in the Zoom call, and then I had this beautiful idea, and I was thinking about burnout in open source. I was thinking about this idea, and at the Chaos Project, like I said, we create metrics to help open source communities manage health, right, in their open source project. And I thought about burnout in open source, and I was in this DEI working group meeting, and I wanted to say, I said, no, you're just new to this project. I don't think that makes sense. They should have this already figured out. I wanted to silence that voice that was pushing me to raise my hand and say something, because I was new to the project and I did not have enough concept. I felt that the people around in that project were, more experienced than I am. They have everything figured out, right? And I didn't want to make that suggestion. But thankfully, I did make the suggestion. I raised my hand, and immediately I stopped speaking. I turned off my mic, and I almost wanted to close down my laptop because I was shy and I felt that what I had just said doesn't make sense. And then when I said this idea, everybody was like, oh, we didn't think about this. This is really good. We should make it a metric. And I'm like, I did not want to say that initially, right? But and that was from the lack of confidence that I had in myself, that I felt that because I was new, my idea wasn't valid. So these are some of the issues, and why it's important, why I listed out these issues is important, that as maintainers, that we know that these are the problems, these are the challenges that our new contributors from underrepresented areas, that these are the challenges that they face, and we go a step further to help them feeling welcome. So how do we collectively empower our new contributors to succeed? How do we help them to make their first contributions and even stay in the project? Now, at the Chaos Project, we have done a lot to create a welcoming, and this is feedback from feedback gotten. The Chaos Project is one of the best projects in the world. Right. So this is from feedback because we have been able to create a welcoming and inclusive environment, and you can learn from us today, right? And that's why I'm here to share our tips and tricks. So yeah, so we do have a newcomers channel in our project, and if you don't, please, if you're on Slack, if you use Slack or Discord, please do create a newcomers channel, because that's where contributors come in. That's where they ask questions. That's why it's called newcomers, because there are no silly questions, right? So please, if you do not have something like this in your project, please definitely create a newcomers channel. And then we had the newcomers channel. Yeah, we had that. But people were still coming in, and people, Chaos, we have a lot of projects, awesome projects, by the way, right? And a lot of working groups, a lot of different groups. So it's easy to come in and just feel lost. So what we did is we had the newcomer channel, and said, then we went a step further. How about we have something like on a weekly cadence, office hours, where anybody can just pop in and ask any question. You must not stay till the end. So we implemented office hours. If you do have the bandwidth, if you can also implement office hours in your project, so people can ask questions, and people can you can get feedback from people where people want to contribute. We also try to invest in our onboarding process. Do you have an onboarding process in your project? Regardless of how small your community is or your project is, onboarding is very important, because it would help your new contributors understand, where do I fit in? How can I help? It helps them understand how to contribute, and then investing in your documentation as well. We had to revamp our community handbook. We had to create like a handbook where not just about like the project, the software documentation. Here I'm talking about community. Here I'm talking about new contributors, right? So you have to invest in your documentation on how to point. Something we have is like a quick start. We have it on like the Chaos website. It's like a quick start for new contributors to see, and just like a glance through a one-pager that talks about, okay, these are the different areas in the project, this is how you can contribute, this is where you should go to, these are our meeting hours, just join in our meeting. So you need documentation like that. Also, participating in mentorship programs do help, create like that, getting new contributors. It helps you attract more contributors. Outreachy, GSOD, Google Season of Docs, Google Season of Google Summer of Code. There are a lot of these mentorship programs out there. And even for us at Chaos at the time, we participated in the She Code Africa, an NGO back here in Africa that's doing awesome work, bringing more women into tech. So we participated in that mentorship program where they were trying to bring in more women into open source. And then from that mentorship program that we participated in, we had 2 awesome mentees that built a newcomer bot, and the bot is also open source. You can check it out at the Chaos GitHub. We also created a bot that would welcome, because sometimes it's hard doing all the work, and the bot doesn't replace human interaction, right? But it helps welcome these new contributors regardless of time zone. It pops in. We had like this pretty message where it would send the new contributors on Slack. It's a Slack bot. We're able to, the mentees were able to build that. So if you want access to it, you can check on our Chaos. You can also use it in your own Slack groups if you do use Slack. And also, I can't stress this enough, empathy. Remember, we went back to how you made your first contribution. So you need to think, you need to be empathetic and understanding when contributors ask questions. Because when I was a contributor, a new contributor, I asked a lot of questions, right? So you have to apply empathy. Now, I said I was going to, talk about the DEI Audit Team that was sponsored by the Ford Foundation back in 2021, where we were creating a we came together, this team of awesome folks here. My picture has covered someone. I'm so sorry. But yeah, so these are people from the Chaos Project, and even you might see friendly faces here. The one I covered is Justin. Justin, if you're seeing this, sorry. Oh yeah, so Christy from Gnome, Justin from Red Hat, Georgia from Simply Secure, Sean from the Chaos Project, and I covered Sele from the Wikimedia Foundation, and then Elizabeth and Matt. So these are all awesome folks that came together to look at the DEI practices in the Chaos Project. And this grant was sponsored by the Ford Foundation, and we had the first reflection for like 2 years, and our grant got extended. So this team came together, to audit our DEI work in Chaos. And I'm just going to specifically for this presentation, I'm just going to share the work we did with the newcomers, and a bit about what we did in the community that relates to DEI. So I'm not going to share all the work we did. But yeah, so how did this team, this awesome people, how did they come together to improve the DEI work at the Chaos Project? So something we had realized for our newcomers in the Chaos Project, that we had seen a tremendous amount, like we had seen people pop in a lot, even especially with the outreach programs, Google Season of Dogs, Google Summer of Code, we had seen people come in, and helping these new contributors was top priority for us. Like, we needed a way to help, because people would come in, they would ask a lot of questions. How do we collectively help these people? We thought about that as a team. And we understand what it means to feel overwhelmed when you get into an open source project. So we wanted to help newcomers see that their work was important. We wanted to hype them up when they participate. We wanted to make a welcoming space. We understood that creating a welcoming space for people to make new contributions, invites creativity, makes them, you just, hype them up. You just say, just a simple thank you for contributing, right? It goes a long way to make them come back to the project, to make them, it goes a long way to create a welcoming space in your project. Now, we also did create a survey. And yeah, you could have been able to scan the capture, but kind of like, I wanted you to see my face, so I made the screen very wide. I'm so sorry, but I'm definitely going to find a way to share this slide so you can assess the Lime survey that we did. So we wanted to understand how to help the community, right? We didn't just do this work because, okay, this team of 7, they have everything figured out, so let's go in and do DEI open source work. No, we wanted to understand where the community was at that point. So we did, and we kind of like put together a survey, and it's also reusable. You can use it in your community. So we wanted to create a welcoming and inclusive environment for our contributors. We kind of like asked them about their experience contributing to the Chaos Project, and how we could collectively improve that experience. So the result, some of the results from our efforts so far for newcomers is we're able to create a chapter. Initially, before the DEI audit work, we did have the Chaos Asia Pacific chapter, but because we saw a lot of new contributors coming in from Africa, we did create a chapter for Africans, and which I lead. And we so far we've had 200 plus community members. We've had focus groups, and these focus groups are important because we were able to help people see how they could contribute with their skill set, which is important. Like, we had focus groups like development design, research, technical writing, and community management. Because when people come into your project, they come in with different skill sets. They don't just want to contribute code. So you finding a way to speak to them in their language not programming languages this time, but their skill set language, right, helps them feel more welcome. And why I did highlight the design group is because it's one of the most active groups. Even the pretty slide deck that I'm using currently, it was from the design group. So we're able to, help designers contribute to open source, and even researchers. And so far, we even had like our own Twitter, where we were able to run educative Twitter spaces last year. And this year, we're looking forward to expanding into more education and educating more Africans in open source. And as small as this is a lot, because imagine 200 plus people were impacted by the work we focused on, the work we did, and it's still growing. Every single day, we get a new contributor trying to contribute to the Chaos Project. So you see the impact of our work over the course of 2 years and counting. And now, when you want to center DEI in your project, it's not a one-time thing. It's a continuous effort. So we realized, for 2 years, we did the work for 2 years, 2021, 2022, and even our work was, supported again by the Ford Foundation. But it didn't go as we wanted it to go. There were some things that did not work well, right? Handling new contributors can be overwhelming sometimes, right? But we did find that supporting these contributors helped us with contributor retention. Some of these contributors were able to stay, and even there's one of the contributors that's currently a maintainer, right? So we also, the surveys we ran helped us understand how people contribute to the community, and we also learned to be patient. So if you are watching this and at the Maintainer Summit, I want you, while you're trying to center DI, while you're trying to help contributors, you need to be patient. You need to, understand what is going on. So be patient with yourself as you take these tips that I have shared with you. And I really hope they were helpful. I hope to take questions. And thank you so much for listening to me. And you can tweet at me, connect with me at Ikegah Ruth on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn as well at Ruth Ikegah. You can send me a DM and ask more questions about the work I'm doing here in Africa, and even helping new contributors contribute to open source. You can also shoot me an email. I'd definitely love to speak to you all. And bye till I see you in person. Bye from the top of the world. Thank you.